Welcome to all the viewers of CIL.com. This time we have with us Sandeep Goel, Managing Director of Moglix. Welcome, Sandeep.
Thanks. Thank you, Sunil.
Yeah. So I thought instead of me giving an introduction, I think it'll be better if you could do that. So in brief, could you tell our viewers a bit about yourself and Moglix?
Yeah, so I'll start with the Moglix first.
Yeah.
So the name Moglix, many people ask us that what's the origin of the name Moglix. So it's Mowgli with an X factor, Mowgli the Jungle Book character, and basically the philosophy was that Mowgli represented a character historically, which is young, energetic, fearless, gets into a wild forest and then makes a lot of friends, brings method to the madness. So
Okay.
9 years back, when we entered the B2B commerce market, it was like a wild forest with a lot of poor processes, lot of madness, and we thought we'll bring the method to it, learning from our B2C colleagues because B2C had evolved to a certain extent. So that's how Moglix started. Basically, the thought process was that um, when you buy a book or a T-shirt or a phone, you go to Amazon or Flipkart. So similarly, when factories want to buy electrical fitting or a lubricant oil or a hand tool or safety kit, they will come to moglix.com. So it's basically a marketplace or a industrial supplies provider for factories in the B2B space. So that's about Moglix. About myself, um, I am a engineer from background. So I did my engineering way back in late 90s. And then earlier stints were with investment banks. I worked in the investment banking space, then went on to core technology space, working with large consulting firms, running my own startups. And then Moglix happened. So that's about me. I'm very passionate about people, process, and technology. Three parts. So and glad that I'm getting to enjoy all three aspects at Moglix. I work a lot on people side, process side, technology side. I'm a passionate teacher. I teach at colleges. So whatever we have learned in the corporate world, I am trying to take it back to the academia.
Yeah. So that's a very nice introduction. I'm sure like the imagery of Mowgli and Jungle Book will not be out of our minds. But just
Yeah.
is there who's the Sher Khan then? I just would want to ask. It's
We have multiple share. In fact, it's very interesting. You mentioned Jungle Book as well. Our learning management system is called Jungle Book.
okay.
We have multiple Sher Khans. We are present at 40 locations, so
Okay.
one Sher Khan won't do, unfortunately. So we have multiple Sher Khans. We have Ballus in the organization. So
Right.
yeah, the whole setup in place. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, one of the first thing that struck me about Moglix is, most Indians still use American IT products, whether it's like
Mhm.
operating systems or, social media and all. And but especially after COVID, I mean, there are so many Indian tech companies which have become brand names which are super hit in India. But
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
thing, by and large, we do not do well abroad. And I saw that
Mhm.
Moglix is actually a global company with footprints all across the world. So how
Mhm.
did you achieve that, and what would be your advice for other Indian companies trying to venture into a foreign market?
Yeah. So two things. See, one is Moglix is we call ourselves a phygital company, which is we have the physical infrastructure and the digital infrastructure. Right, physical infrastructure. I mean, by warehouses, by office locations, and we are into moving goods. We are in the commerce space, so we actually handle the supply chain. Digital is in our core. We basically are a tech-led organization, and hence the value proposition becomes a little more, I would say, deep. So when we go globally, we go with complete log stock barrel. We have the warehouse, like our Middle East operations. When we started, we set up the warehouse. We have the supplier ecosystem over there. And that sort of helps you become successful because the solution that you're offering is actually tailored for the local market. The commerce is a very, very sort of local definition. So that's one part. So in case, companies which are looking to go global, if your value proposition includes not just the software side of it, but also the core domain or physical assets or some kind of a deeper infrastructure, the chances or likelihood of success is higher. Having said that, see, India also, has been evolving quite well. If you look at 10, 20 years back, local manufacturing or local businesses in India were not consuming tech so much. I think ERP was probably the only standard system adopted by everyone, but a lot of other systems were not adopted to that great an extent. Most of the people were building software in India to be consumed outside. Right? India was, I think, 20 years back, we were not in top 15 also as the economy size wise. Today, we are fifth, we'll get to third. Now, today, what's happening is there's so much of consumption of software happening in India, and in variety of spaces, in commerce, in manufacturing, in infrastructure, right? So now, whatever is getting built in India and getting consumed in India, that's actually of global standard because we are scaling, we are doing things, whether it is in the semiconductor space, renewable space. And over next few years, I foresee that even pure play software companies as well will start to get adopted, acknowledged, sold in the US market or overseas markets pretty extensively.
Yeah. So that's quite hopeful. So let's hope, like, especially when we are the third largest economy, we can really, scale new
I'm
heights.
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So anyway, then there's the elephant in the room, which you always have to discuss. That is Gen I. So I mean, everyone knows about Gen I, and text
Yeah.
assistants and all. How has Gen AI impacted B2B commerce, enterprise procurement, and SaaS verticals? Some of the
Yeah.
areas in which you operate, and what do you see the future? What does the future hold for you?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. AI has become such a big buzzword. On a lighter note, other day I heard a tea vendor was saying my tea is AI enabled, and people asked, "What do you mean by tea
Uh,
being AI enabled?" He said, "My tea has adrak and elaichi, so it's like AI enabled." Right, so it's become a word which has to be in
Correct.
everything. But having said that,
Yeah.
in commerce it has a much larger meaning.
Right.
See, if you look at e-commerce, the life cycle, and these life cycles are always designed around the customer's journey. So if you
Right.
see, you have the assortment, that on the catalog, how many items, what sort of spread you have got.
Mm,
Second is the search part, that when the user searches, are they able to find the relevant products or not?
mm, mm, mm,
Then whether the pricing is attractive or not. Then they place an order, the experience of placing an order,
mm,
checking out, delivery, and then the customer service and
mm,
overall experience. In this entire journey, if you see, AI is playing a role at every step today,
mm,
right? Especially Gen AI comes into picture and plays a critical role when you are defining a rich catalog,
mm.
because description and all matters. Specs
Right.
should be accurate, right? So all the detailing should be there. So a job which used to be manual intensive earlier, people used to spend a lot of time defining the catalog, etc. Gen AI is starting to make it extremely efficient. Right, so that is one part. Second part you get into is when people search for something, are they able to find the right product? India is a land of multiple languages. People use a mix of English with local words. So, are you able to design a system where even if I mix it with a not so pure English, is a product coming back? So, AI becomes very critical over there. Many a times user comes to a product, many a times you want to take a product to the user. So
Right.
personalization, machine learning, past buying history, etc., that starts to play a role, right? And then once the order is placed, and then user has questions, queries, whether it is about order status, whether it's about return, whether it's about anything else, again, you cannot deploy large manpower. So AI-based chatbots and all start to become extremely popular. So if you see throughout the customer journey in commerce space, AI is playing an extremely critical role. When you go to the backstage, which is more warehouses, procurement, etc., again, it's a very, very powerful decision-making tool that's becoming more and more critical in decision making. Simple things like if I want to forecast, see in India, for example, return is a big problem, right? A lot of products get delivered and they get returned. Companies want to have forecasting algorithms saying what's the probability of this getting returned and accordingly make certain decisions. There are a lot of route optimization things. I need to figure out what will be the best route, cheapest route to deliver a product, right? So those decisions start to get made, or other options for a product like customer is asking for X, I don't have X. Is there an alternative Y that I can procure and do it, right? So again, on the procurement supply chain side, plenty of use cases. It's a very, very powerful technology, especially for spaces like e-commerce, which are extremely data intensive. And data is not of a high quality. Data is very poor quality. So again,
Right.
that fuzziness AI is able to solve for and bring efficiencies.
Yeah. So as you said, I can see there are a lot of uses for AI in the e-commerce domain. But yeah,
Absolutely.
but I'm sure there are many other technologies like AI has sucked all the bandwidth. But you
Yeah,
have AR, VR, IoTs, sensors, data analytics. I mean, there's so many other technologies which we don't even
yeah,
talk about. So maybe if you
yeah.
could talk about some of those technologies.
Yeah, no, no. In fact, you have already named few of them, and that's true that AI seems to have hogged all the bandwidth, and the other technologies which are quite critical as well are not getting talked so much right now. IoT, of course, was a blue-eyed boy. Industry 4.0 was a very, very
Right.
popular buzzword a few years back, and I think. And see, the interesting part is all these technologies like Industry 4.0, IoT is heavily dependent upon AI. AI is not, these
Right.
will not be two separate technologies. IoT is actually going to sit on top of AI. But yeah, IoT is going to be very critical, especially the space we are in. See, we basically supply to factories and make the material available for maintenance, repair, running their operations. IoT plays in the same space where it predicts the need of a spare part ahead of the time, right? So it will sense either temperature or pressure or vibrations or anything, and then predict that looks like you will require a spare part in 1 month from now, 2 months from now, right? So IoT will become very meaningful from that point of view, where a machine itself will be able to put a request saying that, hey, in a month from now, can you please keep a bearing ready because I need to have the bearing replaced, and that
Right.
order can come to us, and then we can ensure, because some of these items take a longer time, they're not very fast moving, so you have to ensure that it gets supplied and reaches in time. So IoT definitely is going to be extremely powerful. And I think it should evolve with both the hardware side, because one side of IoT is all the sensors and all. That
Right.
market is maturing very well. And then the AI and data handling improves. I think these two coming together can make IoT extremely powerful. Second, also you called out the AR, VR part. Again, there was a in between, there was a time when AR was picking up HoloLens and some of these products you were hearing. Then it became quiet, and now I think it'll come back with much more maturity. Uh, Great use cases again and again. You start to combine these things because drone and aerospace is another technology which will become very powerful. So if you start to combine drone and AR and VR and all these stuff together, they can start to become very good industrial solutions, right? So surveying of the land, identifying some solutions. There are, especially in industries like oil and gas, there are scenarios where reaching for a person is difficult. So, drones will come into picture, AR will come into picture, for people to get trained and understand what's going on. So that, and the last one I would say is the automation and robotics part. That's again a very very powerful technology with especially the warehouses spaces becoming larger, factories becoming larger. It will not be possible for a human to move from end to end and perform certain things. So robotics and automation will be other things which will be quite relevant from the industry standpoint.
Yeah, so basically, that's a lot of technologies, and I guess, as you said, AI will have to work in tandem with all of them to make it
Yeah,
effective.
AI will, yeah. So AI will be like, it will be like you are making a recipe and using water. So water is not separate from any food recipe. Water is
Correct.
in every food item.
Everything. Yeah.
So AI will become a necessary ingredient, whatever you're cooking. You're making a dessert, you're making a main course, you're making
Right.
IoT, you are doing automation. AI will be an underlying core layer which will run across all of these.
Yeah. So, like another thing is like, I guess you know that well about the supply chain. COVID showed us the importance of supply chain. So, how have you at Moglix been managing your supply chains? What are the problems and innovations? And like you talk technology being a big thing, the predictive is very important. And more importantly, can India become a top supply chain for the world? Because after the slight decline of China, I think there is now scope for many other countries to come forward.
No, that's true. I think it's uh, and when the local manufacturing, local commerce start to grow, supply chain has to evolve. There is enough pressure, downstream pressure to for the supply chain to get built. In India, I think there were two or three factors which were critical to be taken care of. First one was infrastructure. I think that evolution has happened significantly over last, I would say, 7 to 10 years. If you
Correct.
see the road infrastructure, availability of buildings, warehouse space, etc., reach from a port to a mainland, etc. I think a lot of things have significantly improved. So that's at a foundation level. There is no point you building sophisticated capabilities in warehouse management when your road infrastructure and other things are not in place. So I think hygiene is taken care of. That's a big part. Next thing which becomes, or next two things I would say which become important. One is the cost effectiveness. See, warehouses, in a way, it's a cost which is like kind of overhead, right? And at times, for many of the items, supply chain cost can become so significant and prohibitive that it makes a deal non-viable for you, right? So cost optimization will be a very critical part in the warehousing space, and that's one of the things we are working on, whether it is with respect to space utilization, where you're using the space horizontally and vertically. And when you're using the space horizontally and vertically, then you need equipment to reach from a automation perspective and things like that. So that's one part of the capability. Second is the whole efficiency part. Like I talked about, warehouse and logistics go hand in hand. So the optimization of logistics cost, what will be the most efficient mode, how much do you want to inventorize, so that you bring the inventory at the right time rather than inventorizing it for the long number of days. So inventory optimization algorithms and all those things become very very critical. Governance aspect is very important, especially India kind of a geo with respect to handling theft, etc. So so those things become very important, where you have trained manpower, you have enough education around in people. So those kind of things will have to be taken care of. So I think it will again be physical infrastructure, digital and technology usage, and then a lot of people process. I think supply chain will be one of the areas uh, where manpower involvement and intensity will continue to remain very high. Even if you have deployed technologies, you still cannot discount the involvement of manpower, whether it is offloading from a truck and things like that, right? So their training, etc., will also be quite critical. In terms of India becoming a superpower, absolutely yes. As I said, if manufacturing is increasing and the kind of goals we are seeing by 2030 or 2047, I think warehouse will have to be, growing along with the whole manufacturing segment. So India is in a great position from that standpoint to evolve their supply chain infrastructure as well.
Yeah. So I guess what you're saying is offline infrastructure, online technology, human capital, we have to fire on all cylinders for that, I
Absolutely,
guess.
absolutely. I think you have put it very, very well. Offline infrastructure, online powerhouse, and
Technology. Yeah.
and manpower. And interesting part is, technology wise, India has been a leader ever since the offshoring industry
Yeah.
evolved. So we are very good with respect to technology, digital brains, a lot of educational institutions as well.
Yeah.
People wise, anyway, we are the country with largest younger population. I think that is a problem many countries like Japan and all are facing. So India is in a great spot with respect to having a young uh, talent
Yeah.
availability.
This demographic dividend. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And infrastructure was the only part. I think
Correct.
that's sort of getting taken care of for the past decade or so. So I think
Yeah.
all three boxes are getting ticked.
So you're hopeful of India
Very,
2047
very hopeful.
vision. We
No,
can
no.
do it.
I was hopeful of India in late 90s. I decided
Okay. Yeah, I
not
remember
to
that time.
move
There
to the
was great
US.
hope.
So that time,
Liberalization, internet,
yeah,
e-commerce. I remember those days. Yeah.
yeah.
Before the
Correct, correct. And that was the time a lot of people were moving to the West, leaving
yeah.
India because they felt
Yeah.
that's where the opportunities. I still felt India is the
Yeah.
opportunity. I decided to stay back, and
Great. Great.
I am proven right. 20 years,
Yeah.
25 years on, saying, yeah,
Yeah.
that's this is the place to be in.
As they say, better late than never, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, so it's been great talking to. Finally, maybe if you can just talk a bit about short-term, long-term plans of Moglix. Like we talked of India 2047. What about Moglix? Do you have what is your vision? Whatever you can tell.
No, absolutely. And our vision, see, we are a very, very firm believer in India's story, all of us in the leadership team.
Right.
Uh, India's story, if you see, is built around four or five key constructs. Infrastructure development is one,
Right.
manufacturing is another one, and manufacturing in variety of spaces, be it automotive, semiconductors, renewable energy, and so the manufacturing story is there. Digital story is there, uh, obviously, and then the whole fintech story, because like
Right.
UPI, etc.,
UPI. Yeah.
things which have happened, the kind of infrastructure India has built, we have proven ourselves to be a leader in the
Right.
fintech space as well, adoption wise. Even
Yeah.
though the spread of demography is so high from a earning propensity to education standard, but still UPI kind of things have been hugely successful.
Yeah.
Moglix feels very excited and proud about being involved in all these three or all these four areas.
Right.
If you look at our customer base or industries that we enable, we manufacturing is a key industry that we try to help or
Right.
create a supply chain infrastructure, spare parts, etc., so that they can run efficiently in a much more organized manner.
Hmm.
We are serving over 3,000 plants in India today. So manufacturing, we are there in the heart of manufacturing.
Right.
Second is the EPC and infrastructure firm. So another business unit also supplies, whether it is fabricated materials or bitumen or AAC blocks or some of these, infrastructure related supplies. That's our second focus area. So again, we are right in the middle of infrastructure development and playing a role over there. Then we have our entity called Credlix. Credlix is a supply chain financing solution, and that is basically designed for our suppliers to get working capital benefits, and those who run money to run their business successfully, either for domestic purpose or even cross border. So we have Credlix as our business, and then the whole thing gets enabled through a huge digital focus. We are all technology enthusiasts who are working towards it. So we are right in the middle of action. Whatever is India shining stories, we are one or two pages in every story, right? So we are part of the book very much. So that makes it very exciting. I think as India continues to grow, Moglix will continue to grow. It will
Yeah.
be across categories, across cities, geographies within India, and with respect to our offerings. So yeah, I think this journey will be very, very exciting.
Yeah. So I think with that we'll end it. I think we covered a wide range of issues of both Moglix, the industry, and India. And it's really been great talking to you. Thank you for sharing these
No,
insights.
pleasure. Likewise, Sunil, pleasure
Yeah.
talking to you, and thanks for having me.